Welcome back, and thank you very much for sticking with me as I take you through these videos. Now I hope you have done one tubule CPD and one non-tubules one in stage 5, or you've got 2 certificates there, because I'm now going to take you through the topic of reflections. Now there's been a lot of talk about reflections over the last few months, weeks, etc. Some people say, I don't know how to write reflections. Some people don't know what to write in reflections. Some people don't know how truthful to be, etc. Reflections, therefore, becomes an important topic. So let's take it to the center of our circle. Now, I want you to understand reflections and the role of reflections and why it's important. I want you to understand the benefits of reflections, how to write the reflections objectively, and understand how to implement them on your tubule CPD. Because by the end of this stage, you will have completed the reflection section of your intelligent PDP. Now, reflections, if you think about reflections, what is reflections? And if you think about reflecting on something, it's almost you're looking back. You're looking back at something, thinking about it, analyzing it, looking at the lessons gleaned from it so that you see what's the good or bad about it. And what is needed in this case is reflections about CPD, which is completely different from clinical reflections. When we talked about learning needs, I talked about the story of the fact that you were doing composites on somebody and you felt a bit uneasy, and then you thought, oh, I could improve my polishing protocols, I could improve my learning, I could improve my isolation, etc. Then you talked to your nurse, you created the list of learning needs. That is clinical reflections. What we're expected to document is reflections about CPD and how courses helped you towards your patient learning, which is different. Clinical reflections and CPD reflections are slightly different. And what we're going to focus here is your PDP and therefore the reflections of the CPD activity you do. You're going to think about the reflecting back, thinking about gaining an analysis and insight onto how was that course useful for you? Did it meet your aims and objectives? And how is it relevant and you're going to apply it in practice? Which is completely different. So all this scaremongering going on about reflections, I think take it with a pinch of salt, because when you analyze reflections better, you realize doing it the right way, making it objective is only going to help you, help your PDP, and give you those 11 advantages I gave you in stage 1. Now, if you think about the benefits of reflection, think about this, that when you reflect, you confirm your choice of the course. Remember in stage 5, I told you how to choose your courses? Stage 5, I gave you some tips. You confirm if that's working or not. You confirm if that learning method is correct for you. This is education. You confirm how educational methods are working for you. I know many of you will say, oh, I've been doing this for years, but yes, but improve your educational finesse. That's what you're doing here. You analyze your learning methods in a different way. You see, did I actually enjoy that method? Did I enjoy that speaker? Did I enjoy their way of delivery? My way of delivery is moving my hands all around. Do you actually find that comfortable? It's just small things, but you analyze all that. And then as a result, you go, well, did that course then meet the objectives I had set? Remember I told you to set that question objectively? It then makes you think, what did I learn here that I can apply in practice? Or confirm what I'm already doing in practice. And as a result, you can identify future learning needs. So the reflections enable you to really start rounding off your PDP. Because I reflect, you say, I met these objectives, I can therefore apply in practice here. Therefore, I may be now able to improve on this learning. That's beneficial for you because it starts making you think proactively. And that's what you want to do. Now, the question is obviously now you think, well, but what should I write in my reflections? Now, if you look at the GDC's template of the activity record, that question at the end on the third sort of bit is there. In reflecting your activity, you might need to think about the following. What did you learn or confirm from this course or from this CPD activity? You will try and work out that how did this benefit your patients and your daily work? If you didn't identify any changes, did it confirm what you're doing on a daily basis? What was the benefit to your work or patients in carrying out these activities at the bottom? Now let's go back to their template of the plan. And the plan has the same question. What benefit will this have to your work? So in your plan, you said, what benefit will this have to your work? In your reflection, it's asking you, what benefit will it have? Because did it meet your objectives? Did it confirm what you knew, or did you learn something new? That's the question you're answering in your reflections. What you put in your plan is what you're answering. So if we go to the intelligent PDP, we said, I would like to learn X, Y, and Z when we did stage 4, question 7 of our planning. And I reiterate those 3 questions we put together. What were my overall aims from this goal? What were my objectives? How will it benefit my patients? And I told you, if you answer that question using verbs, I will learn, you will know when you've achieved it. So in your reflections, now you can say, because in your plan, you had decided to say, I will learn how to identify my learning needs. So in your reflections, you say, I learned how to identify my learning needs. That's objective reflection, because what you set there is what you're achieving here. Very specific and a good way to write them. Think about it here. In this example, we said I will learn how to identify my learning needs, how to develop and plan goals, how to do CPD and reflect on it. Well, are you learning that? Then in your reflections, you say, I learned how to identify my learning needs. I learned how to develop plans and goals. I learned how to do CPD and reflect on it and therefore measure my plan. What's wrong with that is reflections, because you're confirming what you set in your goal. And that's how you write reflections, to be objective and to be really, really specific about it. That's what you do in short in reflections. Now let's go to the intelligent PDP. And how do you write reflections there? You can either write reflections having done tubule CPD or non-tubule CPD. Let's look at each one. And follow me step by step. Go back and log in on www.DentinalTubules.com. And then let's do some tubule CPD reflection. Click on your intelligent PDP. Click on activities and reflections. Now you remember in stage 5, I was showing you how you did a tubule CPD video. Well, guess what? This is already recorded in your activities and reflections area. You'll see the activity there. So all you have to now do is click on the right arrow, so it drops down. Click on edit this activity. And then you need to do just 2 things. 1, tick the box that the goal matches against. And number 2, put your reflections in. So you see there, all the goals I had set, all the regulatory goals, I just tick the boxes this matches against. This matches against the goal about PDP development, so I tick that. And secondly, I then scroll down and the reflections box needs filling in. Everything else is automatically filled in here. You will even confirm that the high-level outcome you've chosen when you did the tubule CPD activity is already here. So you just go ahead and save this. And there you go. You now know how to do reflections for tubule CPD. But let's go one step back and say, what about reflections for non-tubule CPD? You go back to your intelligent PDP, go back to activities and reflections, and then go in there and click on add activity. You will now be given a form to fill in. So I'd done a course on complaints handling externally. So I said the activity was called complaints handling. I then ticked the relevant goal box that fits it, complaints handling. I then started filling in the date I did that CPD. Tick the box where I can upload the certificate. So if you've done previous dates, 2014, you can do that here as well. And then the time of CPD and uploading my certificate there is done. You can see that. And then I go ahead, write my reflections, write the aims and objectives, tick the box of the GDC high-level outcomes, and my CPD is saved. My reflections are now saved. And the certificate goes into my certificate section as well. That's external CPD, certificate loaded, reflections done, everything done all at one go. And in fact, here's the cool thing. If you now go into your progress area, look at that. My traffic lights turned green because I've achieved that goal. And it shows there as 100% achieved. This is the progress and measuring, which I'll talk about in the next section. But now, you know how to do reflections for non-Tubules CPD as well. And I've given you a brief overview of how to do reflections and write them objectively. I hope this has been useful for you. Obviously, once you've done reflections, you start thinking, well, what do I do now? The PDP is a dynamic document. You start doing reflections which will identify future CPD needs possibly, and therefore you start moving ahead. You start thinking, has my self-assessment changed? Maybe your circumstances changed. Maybe your practice has changed. Or you start thinking, have I identified any other learning needs? Any other educational needs that need changing? Any previous goals that need changing because of what you've learned? You start thinking about all these from your reflections. So reflections are not just writing something, it's making you think about how your plan then changes. The plan then becomes a dynamic document, and you start the process of stage 2 to 5 all over again. In the next section, I'll show you how you now measure your progress. You might have figured this out already, but there we go. Congratulations. Section 6 on reflections is now done.